opens up by talking about their journey to writing The House on Mango Street in 1977 during grad school in Iowa. She recounts how her inspiration for the book came in one fell swoop during a seminar on memory and imagination, which made her hyper-aware of her place as an outlier. The seminar focused on the books Speak Memory by Vladimir Nabokov, Out of Africa by Danish writer Isaac Dinesen, and The Poetics of Space by Gaston Bachelard. She goes on to share how she enjoyed the first two, however, she felt the third escaped her. At first believing maybe she was not apt enough to absorb the meaning, only to realize it was because there was no resonance. She found nothing poetic about her childhood home. Melancholic nostalgia maybe, but fondness, no. She realized all of the books she had ever read were filled with the privilege of cherished memories, and so decided to write what her peers and even professors could not, in a way that was not traditionally done. She decided to unearth what she deemed ugly and unpoetic, slang, etc., naming her voice the only beautiful thing to be exposed. And I immediately felt about her the way she felt about Bachelard and her peers and her professors and every author whose book she had ever read. Privileged, oblivious, harmful. I was excited to read The House on Mango Street, considering I was born in Chicago. My mother spent her adolescence and young adulthood in Chicago, and we are Afro-Latinas. But I quickly realized that Cisneros' angst was my mother's dream deferred. You see, my mother arrived in Chicago from Puerto Rico as a 13-year-old runaway. Orphaned at the age of 2 after her mother died in a tragic car accident, she fled abuse at the hands of her only sibling willing to take all of the younger ones. He had been an alcoholic since he was 13. She fled to her father first, the youngest of his 30 children. He was a Spanish conquistador. He died shortly after she arrived from lung cancer at age 73. She would reminisce about sneaking him cigarettes in his final days. Another brother landed himself in the U.S. Naval Academy on the mainland, so Chicago just made sense. My mother was 11 in 77, the year Cisneros began writing The House on Mango Street, just a few years shy from Chicago, prisoner of a pretty island and a petty abuser. And I can only imagine what she would have given for her biggest point of contention with life to have been cleaning the common areas behind inconsiderate, ungrateful neighbors. She couldn't even consider the role of women in the patriarchy. Instead, she was forced to stay in a child's place while fulfilling adult obligations until her development was arrested. It's hard to think about breaking glass ceilings when your drunk brother breaks your nose or your door down during a stupor. It's impossible to be ashamed of your parents owning a dilapidated house when your bed is a park bench, when you live in a dungeon. Cisneros said basements were filled with urban fauna, and who would want to live there? Well, my mother was the urban fauna, the flower in the attic that grew beneath rickety floorboards, that blossomed anyways. My mama made the ugly poetic, fled to New Haven, Connecticut, and turned a 2-bedroom apartment into a mansion that kept 3 little girls safe from pigs and wolves in family members' clothing, allowed them to dream so big they believed everything about their lives to be poetic. My mother turned nuisance into nuance, scraps into feasts, trial into triumph, slums into paradise. I come from the salt of the earth and the bottom of the rice pot. A caldero that doubled as a cauldron. My mother was a curandera, proud to wash laundry for a living, made domestic labor her bread and butter, could get a stain out of anything, like scrubbing the stigma of having 4 children by 4 different men away with charisma and work ethic alone. They called us the laundromat girls. We came out of the ringer and turned lemonade into a remedy for removing unsightly blemishes. 51 Fifth Street is where you came for a cleansing, with aguanile bumping in the background, enough Coronas to make your aunt forget that she's poor, where a game of bones feels like friendly fire. Here, the women are boisterous, because when you're so broke that you need to borrow a cup of sugar, you have to say it loud enough to drown out your pride. Where the living rooms are too small to host, so we throw extension cords out of windows, holding the big screen TV out back. Some call it ghetto, I call it genius. And isn't that the point? Isn't that what the house on Mingo Street is all about? Telling your own story the way that you want.